What's up, family? Welcome back to another episode of Look at the Material podcast. I'm your host, BK, and today we're going to be talking about Joe Biden.
Are you a Zionist?
Yes. Now, you'll be able to make a lot out of it because some people don't know what a Zionist is. Do you know what a Zionist is?
I just ask questions, I don't answer.
By the way, I'm the guy that did more for the Palestinian community than anybody. I'm the guy that opened up all the assets. I'm the guy that made sure that I got the Egyptians to open the border to let good goods through, medicine and food but what's happening is, and I'm the guy that's been able to pull together the Arab states to agree to help the Palestinians with food and shelter. I'm the guy, and so it's not, I've been...
Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe, Genocide Joe, Joseph Robinette Biden, I don't care what you call him, but we have to talk about this issue. There's a ton of things I could say about Joe Biden, about him being a former segregationist, about him being a proud Zionist. I could talk about his contributions to school segregation policy. I could talk about him co-authoring the largest crime bill in American history, the 1994 crime bill. I could talk about all that stuff. But today we're gonna talk about the fact that he is absolutely unfit to run for president of the United States, the fact that he is an egomaniac that is clutching on to the last remnants of power that he has, the last remnants of life he has, and why the DNC absolutely fucked us and fucked themselves in the process. Let's look at the material. So I'm gonna start at the presidential debate. You know, the debate.
I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. But by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest line. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8.
Never.
But I have, you know how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Okay,
Let's
let's
not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to
21
turn
Let's not act like children.
You
to
are
a
a child.
specific.
I watched that debate. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I was watching a Chicago Sky basketball game, and it came on after on YouTube TV, and I was like, okay, let's just let it play. When I tell you I was speechless, like, we have seen Joe Biden flub a bunch of times. We've seen him have very public mishaps, not just the stutter, because I know he does have a speech impediment, but seemingly forgetting what he's saying, where he is. We've seen little flubs like this before.
How would you say your mental focus is?
Oh, it's focused. I haven't, look, I have trouble even saying to myself my own head the number of years. I no more think of myself as being as old as I am than fly. I mean, it's just not, I haven't observed anything in terms of, there's not things I don't do now that I did before, whether it's physical or mental or anything else.
But I don't think I've ever seen anything like this on live TV.
You have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America. We'll make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
The idea is that we, in fact, we were the only ones of consequence who were not members of the Paris Accord. How can we do anything if we're not able to, the United States can't get its under control, get a paycheck from the time the first one they get when they're 18 years old. The idea that they're going to, I've been proposing that everybody, the millionaires pay 1%. So no one I would not raise the cost of Social Security for any world who keeps our word, and everybody trusts us, all of our allies, and those who he coddles up to, from Kim Jong-un, we sent love letters to, and Putin, etc. They don't want to screw around with us.
Thank you.
Increasing their taxes, and will not. And if I'm reelected, that'll be the case again. But this guy has increased your taxes because of the deficit. Now, everything that comes into the United States of America. What I did, for example, he wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare for the ability for us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies. Well, guess what? We got it down to $35 for insulin instead of $400. No more than $2,000 for every senior, no matter how much prescription they need.
It wasn't just that his performance was shocking. I think the response or the backlash after the debate was most shocking to me. I mean, I know that liberals and even some people on the left have been ignoring this elephant in the room that Joseph Robinette Biden's mental faculties have been failing since 2020. But I did not expect them to act an ass in a panic and a frenzy, freaking out about something that is essentially an open secret at this point. I mean, you had the Times cover that had the panics. You had elites and donors and his peers and colleagues coming out and saying, I'm scared, I didn't know it was this bad. I mean, just absolutely freaking out.
That was painful. I love Joe Biden. I work for Joe Biden. He didn't do well at all. But I just want to speak from my heart. I love that guy. That's a good man. He loves his country. He's doing the best that he can, but he had a test to meet tonight to restore confidence of the country and of the base, and he failed to do that. And I think there's a lot of people who are going to want to see him consider taking a different course now. We're still far from our convention, and there is time for this party to figure out a different way forward if he will allow us to do that. But that was not what we needed from Joe Biden, and it's personally painful for a lot of people. It's not just panic, it's pain.
And it's just super frustrating to me because Joe Biden's mental faculties were not even all there in 2020. He wasn't even one of the more popular candidates in 2020. I mean, 20 motherfuckers ran. And he was the least exciting of all of them. It was during this whole 2020 presidential campaign that he was dubbed Sleepy Joe by Donald Trump.
Oh, Sleepy Joe. Oh, he's running tomorrow. No, but could you imagine if I said just a small fraction of the mistakes he makes, which are unbelievable, every speech. I actually said the other night, I was watching him when he said about half the population wiped out with guns. I said, that's a horrible thing. That's the end of his evening. That's the end of his political career. And then after the debate, they're reviewing him. They said, Joe Biden had a great night last night. I don't get it, Tim.
Fuck Donald Trump. Fuck that nigga, right? But that was a very astute nickname. That nickname is also one of the reasons why Trump is super popular, but I'm not gonna get into that in this video. If you want me to expound on Trump's iconography and how he's a major pop culture figure, definitely let me know in the comments below. But like this sudden panic that, oh my God, our candidate might be too old, our candidate might not be up to running the country and having the nuclear codes. It's disingenuous. I feel like people who are really in the inside, especially in these media conglomerates and lobbyists and people who are staffers and stuff like that, I feel like it's been known that Joe Biden has not fully been functioning. And the real question is, who is running the country in his stead? Because if he looks like that on national TV in one of the biggest debates, one of the biggest nights in politics, what does he look like on a day-to-day basis? And the most frustrating part is these Negro liberals or these chosen coons of the DNC parading themselves on CNN and on MSNBC talking about
the president's drawing the line in the sand. He said, okay, you want it? Come get it. You'd see me on the convention floor. I got 3,800. What you got? You have all these people flapping their lips, and not one of them have named a replacement who can beat Donald Trump. Oh, and then you have the situation that when they do say Joe stand down, they don't automatically fall back on Kamala Harris.
I was getting calls even the day after the debate and the night of the debate saying, well, where are the Democrats out there supporting our own? As they say, the Republicans stand up and they're supporting a convicted felon. And here we are, a man of honesty and integrity and a man who has done an excellent job as president of these United States. And we're here wavering. So the rank and file, they're sick and tired. They truly are sick and tired of folk not saying, okay, Let's get out here and win this race.
This cannot go on for another week. It just can't. We don't have the time. We don't have the resources. Joe Biden on his worst day is orders of magnitude better than Donald Trump on his best day. And it annoys me and infuriates me that more Democrats have not just come out and said that, even if they want to have this conversation behind the scenes, because the longer that we sort of have that there's this infighting publicly, it takes away from Democrats being able to focus on Donald Trump. So you cannot go another week to 2 weeks in this sort of chaotic period and be showing that to the voter.
I didn't realize that we were in the gutter that bad, that asking for a coherent and possibly charismatic candidate meant that we were asking for something that's too tall of an order. There are people who, after that debate performance, were like, you guys are making too big of a deal. He had a cold. He has a stutter. That performance is not even up to snuff of a 2020 Joe Biden. Like, comparing himself to himself, it is very clear that he is in rapid decline. And you know, something that didn't really cross my mind, because I just don't even really think about Joe Biden. We don't really see him too much or hear him too much or don't really have a connection to him. I didn't realize he was such an egomaniac. Like, I understood that he has been in politics for 50 years. He's been a senator since he was in his 30s, and now he's 84 or something like that. I knew that, you know, he is a lifelong politician and things like that. But I didn't realize that he was fighting this hard to grasp at power, that he would see himself declining, that he would see himself falling in the polls and still be like, no, I'm doing this for my legacy. I'm gonna finish it out. We gotta beat Trump. I also was watching a Hasanabi stream the other day, like a clip on YouTube, and apparently insiders report that Joe Biden has shut himself off from anyone who is offering critique of him or encouraging him to step down. That is really scary to me. That is something that indicates to me that he has far more traits like Trump than not like Trump. He sees himself as the main guy, the only guy, the person that is supposed to win us the victory and get our country back. I mean, just pure delusion. I think if this administration and the DNC at large, for that matter, was really serious about beating Trump, they would have been prepping Kamala to run like a year ago or a year and a half ago, at least getting us comfortable with seeing her at the podium and hearing her voice. But I mean, as many of us know, Kamala was unpopular when she was running in 2020 as well. I mean, her history as a prosecutor, people calling her Coppola, and it's fuck Kamala too over here. But she is a dynamic speaker, she's quick on her feet, and she's probably the only one charismatic enough to go toe to toe with the huge personality that is Donald Trump on a debate stage. But again, it's too little too late. I'm seeing a lot of reactive PR in regards to Joe Biden's campaign for president going so poorly. And I actually was reading an article a couple months ago about how insiders at the Biden camp had been alluding to the fact that he was planning on being a one-term president, that they were going to be the bridge administration to usher in a new fiery leader of the Democratic Party. That didn't happen. Like, even if Joe Biden wanted to be the guy and ride this presidency until his wheels inevitably fall off, there still should have been a plan to bolster up someone, hell, even AOC, to take over leadership of the Democratic Party. But I think the issue lies in this, and this is a little sidebar. Joe Biden is not the only 80-year-old politician that we have in our government right now. I think what we're seeing is this old and out of touch establishment within the DNC not wanting more progressive politicians and more progressive candidates to have the shine or to move to the forefront to actually lead the Democratic Party into a more progressive space. I just don't see the vision. I don't even think there is a vision for the Democratic Party at this point. Even those OG establishment people that are trying to act as surrogates to speak on behalf of Joe Biden, y'all are old as fuck too and not really helping his case. I mean, we got Maxine Waters, Nancy Pelosi, Bernie Sanders, Chuck Schumer, like, come on, like y'all should have sat down long ago too. Dianne Feinstein or whatever the hell, however the fuck you say it, she held on to her seat literally until she croaked. even though she didn't even know where she was most times in the meetings. These niggas are warmongers, they're power hungry, and they're egomaniacs, and they don't know when to sit the fuck down. And that's why we're in the situation we're in right now. I honestly think that the Democratic Party lost control of their narrative a long time ago, but definitely from October the 7th on, they have aligned themselves so much with Republicans when it comes to these unanimous votes coming out about equating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism, attacking college students for exercising their right to protest against a genocide, like the dark Brandon meme looking like Homelander. The list goes on in regards to the party not having control of the actual narrative and being so focused on being anti-Trump and creating this binary that even people within the party are looked at upside their head when they have valid criticism of Joe Biden or the party itself. The communications are so fucked up for the DNC that now people are associating the assassination attempt on Trump with the Biden campaign. They are spouting back Democrats' rhetoric talking about Trump is an existential threat. We got to get Trump out of there by any means necessary. And now it looks like you have put out messaging that has led to an attempted assassination because you haven't let enough dissent. You haven't let enough variety breathe. Now look at the dichotomy we're in. A big thing for the Democratic Party, especially in the Obama era that is since long gone, the style of politics is even different post 2016. The Democratic Party has a riz issue. They have a charisma. They have a swag issue. They have a likable candidate issue. Americans are not necessarily that tapped into policy. I mean, considering how capitalism has us working majority of our day and tired the rest of our day, it's hard to get into the weeds of propaganda and stuff like that. People really want to see a candidate that they like, that they want to hang out with. So when you have the creepy old nigga that can barely say one sentence, you're just losing people. You're losing it. And I mentioned 2016 being a turning point for politics because we now have a former celebrity and reality TV star making these iconic moves, right? Like the mugshot and the black power fist after he gets shot with blood streaming down his face. And he knows how to make these moments. He knows how to be memeable, how to be marketable, how to get free advertisements, SNL skits, late night TV skits, all this stuff. The Democrats don't have a response to that. They don't have an answer to that. The Dems are also supposed to be the moral high ground when it comes to politics. And as I mentioned before, we've seen with their moves legislatively post October the 7th, continuing to sending arms and aid and fuel to this genocidal settler colonial state, it just is not giving moral high ground, for lack of a better phrase. Unarmed college-age students were like tear gassed and shot at and slung to the ground for exercising their right to protest under a Democratic president, and most times in states that have Democratic governors or mayors. I mean, for fuck's sake, we're talking about Ivy League students here. The PR and the imagery that the Democrats have run on for so long has crumbled before our eyes. And they continue to double down on anti-Trump and not highlight the things that they are doing for the American people. Now you're just lost in the messaging, and it looks like you are more similar to your opponent than not. And something that we have to really consider, especially now that a lot of the veil has been lifted, is how much Democrats give leeway for conservatives to run amok and do whatever the fuck they want to do. Democrats are saying, oh, Project 2025, but are not offering an antidote to Project 2025 other than vote for Joe Biden. A lot of the things that are unfolding in Project 2025 have been unfolding since like Nixon, right? Like you don't just do all of the things listed in Project 2025 the day after you get elected. There has to be groundwork for this. And over the decades, the Democrats have not offered much opposition to these incremental steps that led to the making of Project 2025. And so if you're not actually going to do anything legislatively, you're gonna have to come a lot harder on the PR front. And that shit is just a fucking mess right now. To be honest, all this shit is bleak as fuck. As some of y'all know, I live in Texas, so my rights are already being stripped away no matter who's, you know, sitting in the Oval Office. What I will encourage everyone to do is to continue to build out your community. If you think about it, that's how we survive already. I live in the South. I've been in the South all my life. I'm a Louisianian, and we deal with storms and flooding and things like that. The government is usually slow to act. FEMA is usually slow to act. So who are we leaning on to survive? Our neighbors that do have power, our friends across the street that ended up stocking up on water that we can borrow some from. So even outside of extreme situations, we should be building those connections so that in times of panic or in times of oppression or whatever, survival, we have a connection and a community and a network we've already built to help us survive these moments. And of course, I'm always going to advocate to get active locally. Your city council, your mayors, your representatives. It's so important that we're engaged on a local level. These are some of the policies that directly impact us. It's kind of difficult for working class people, I will say. The only reason that I was able to go to city council meetings with students were because, you know, my schedule is not a 9 to 5. They had them at 9 a.m. every third Wednesday. That's really hard to attend, but if you can attend virtually, if you can read up on the notes, like pay attention to your local news, things like that, and really just understand what's going on. That's the best way to fight this on the ground. Organizing with your community, getting in touch with your community, and paying attention to what your local politicians are doing, because they're banking on you being distracted by this fucking buffoon circus show up at the top. That you're not casting your ballots locally. So that's all I have on Miss Joe Biden. That's all I have on Miss Democratic Party. Y'all have a lot of work to do. It doesn't even look like y'all are interested in doing any of the work necessary to get you guys to win the election in November. We'll see what happens. Y'all comment what you thought about this video. What are your thoughts about Joe Biden? What are your thoughts about the Democratic Party, the debate, the election? Just, even if you want to just vent, let me know in the comments below. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all at the next video. Bye.